So protests are popping up across D.C. after President Trump's move to federalize the police force in the nation's capital. And according to a crowd renting company, they've seen a massive surge in requests there this summer. Crowds on Demand CEO Adam Swart says paid protesters' requests are up 400% compared to the same period last year. Adam joins us right now. Adam Swart, thanks so much for joining the program.
Lawrence, it's a pleasure to be with you this morning.
Well, it's great to have you. I'm really intrigued with your business model. So, for example, how much are you paying these protesters in Washington, D.C.?
Well, when protesters, we don't comment on specific protests, but generally the range can be from the low hundreds, the low 100s, into a few hundred. It really depends on the location, the duration, and any challenges that, for example, cold weather or early morning. You guys at Fox and Friends know all about getting up early in the morning. We tend to pay people more in that. Obviously, everything Crowds on Demand does is peaceful and law-abiding protest. There's a lot of misinformation online about that. We are peaceful protesters, respectful protesters, focused on persuasion.
So when it comes to the protests, is it per protest? Is it per hour, the finances that you're giving to them? So, for example, how much does your average protester make per hour?
So it really depends on a per protest basis, right? So generally our protests, a typical protest will last 3 hours, sometimes a full day. So that really depends. It's hard to give you a specific figure. For example, it also depends. If you're organizing a conservative demonstration in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, that would be a higher pay rate, or a left-wing demonstration in rural Mississippi, that would be a higher pay rate, because finding and identifying those people is harder, and that might be a more tense environment in those particular locations, as you would imagine.
Yeah, but I know you guys have this is a business. It's not so much, from my understanding, about the activism of these organizations or the causes. So I'm sure you have an average that you pay left-wing people based on the causes there. But I'm curious, when you identify these people, do they genuinely share these beliefs, or are they just out for a paycheck?
They genuinely share these beliefs, and I'll put it this way, right? I'm asking your listeners, your viewers right now, if you got paid a couple $100s, probably mostly your viewers lean conservative, would you guys go to a BLM protest for a couple $100s? I bet most of your viewers are shouting into their TV screens, no, I would not do that, right? So whether it's conservative, there's a lot of misinformation that we only work for the left. We work for the left and the right, but always on the side of common sense, and generally on the side of the underdog. So a lot of conservatives use our service because a lot of times there's a case where hippies with a trust fund are out there protesting, but conservatives are more likely to have jobs and families, so actually they require a little bit more of an incentive to turn out to a demonstration. So we facilitate both conservative and liberal activism, but we always try to take on common sense causes.
So, Adam, who's doing the hiring, and who hires you more, people on the right or the left?
So we tend to be hired by the oppositional party, right? So in the sense of right now, we are getting more requests on the federal level from Democrats, as you would imagine. But for example, in liberal states such as California, we are often brought in by conservatives because we are an outside the box strategy, right? I mean, compensating demonstrators is an outside the box strategy, and we are an inventive kind of firm. So we tend not to be something that is brought in by the establishment. We tend to be an oppositional force that's used for kind of an outside-the-box marketing strategy, or kind of legislative strategy, advocacy strategy. So it really depends on who's in power, Lawrence.
Well, I guess the reason why I ask this question is because typically you don't see a lot of conservative protests in general. It just typically is more of the left wing. They always found a way to be the opposition. So what specific organizations are requesting your services? And the reason why I asked you that is the crime problem is a Washington, D.C. area problem. If you're bringing people from other states, do you worry that you're not giving the public an accurate account of what the locals view on the matter?
Well, two things. I think number one, Lawrence, the one thing to think about is that we generally don't bus protesters in. We tend to have people who are local, who are constituents, who are genuinely passionate about the issue at hand. But I also think there's a fundamental misinterpretation of what a protest is. I think there are a lot of people who falsely view it as a plebiscite. If there's 300 people on one side of an issue and 50 on the other, people say, oh, well, 6-1, they're in favor. Well, the fact that a protest, it's more like buying an ad on Fox News. What you get through the ad is visibility. If you have a good product, then people are going to buy the product. If you have a bad product, people won't. And I'll give you two examples that illustrate this. The Tea Party
I'm short on time. I remember the Tea Party. I was part of the Tea Party, and those were organic protests. I guess what I'm trying to get at, the Tea Party was moms, dads.
They were heavily funded, Lawrence.
They
were heavily funded.
But the people protesting were not paid to protest there. So what I'm asking you is there liberal campaigns paying for the liberal nonprofits? Like, who is cutting the check?
Well, the fact is that both conservative and liberal groups pay for demonstrations because it's a good way to advocate for your cause. And that's a really important thing because what you do is conserve as a catalyst. So
I'm sorry, I've asked the question like 3 times, so I'm trying to get specific of who. I understand liberals in there, but that encompasses so much. What organizations, what candidates are footing the bill?
Well, probably most people that you are aware of are in some way compensating demonstrators, either through using our service or through paying their own people. For example, academic groups have fellows whose job it is to protest. A lot of people who are political campaign staffers on both sides. There are 15,000, Lawrence, staff in the House and Senate on both Republican and Democratic sides. Part of their job is actually attending these protests and rallies and press conferences that you guys cover. You know, they attend those kind of as background
it's an
people.
Interesting business
it's not
model.
exactly, I'm not the first person.
Yeah, it's an interesting business model. We look forward to seeing exactly where the money is coming from, though, because I think when you're affecting public policy, everybody likes organic protests as a part of our democracy. But when you have groups that are funding it and hiding themselves, it's not organic because you're paying them. It's totally different. They're professional paid people.
The reality is, Lawrence, people have different incentives for coming out there. There's no such thing as a truly organic protest, Lawrence. Everybody has a reason for being somewhere, whether they're flexing on Instagram, flexing for politics, staffer, or being compensated. So I don't think there is such thing as truly organic.
Okay. All right, we got to run. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.